Guys, we have the full chapter, and let's just say this changes everything. Boruto has a brand new Rasengan that has limitless potential, things you wouldn't have imagined in this universe. We also have Code's army, the Ten Tails clones, now possessing brand new Rennegans that also provide some intriguing information in regards to what we know about the Otsutsuki. In addition to that, we also have this intriguing mystery in regards to Sasuke's whereabouts and Boruto's actions during the time skip. So we have a lot to discuss, but as we always do, let's start from the top. So as we know, the last chapter ended with Boruto standing before Code ready to challenge him, and this chapter pretty much picked up with Boruto doing the same thing. So it says here that the surprise invasion as part of a revenge plan from Kara's remnants, Code. Amidst the chaos in Konoha, he suddenly appears. Then we skip to the panel showing Boruto with Sarada and Code amongst the other Ten Tails clones. Code then says, "I've been looking for you, Boruto. I didn't expect you to come out so easily. If that's the case, you should have come to Konoha sooner." Now this part is a little bit weird because I think what he should have said, or I think what he did say, and this isn't translated correctly, is that if that's the case, I should have come to Konoha sooner because he would have gotten Boruto way sooner. So I think that's what he's saying here, just to clarify. Then Boruto replied telling Code to withdraw his monsters from the village, every last one of them, while you still can. If you do that, I'll spare your life. So Boruto is really talking the big talk here, and Sarada is also looking on to Boruto. She hasn't seen him in a very long time, and she also might be surprised about his demeanor as well because he's looking pretty dark here, and it's expected based on what happened. Now I actually found this part very funny because Code is like very shocked about it. He's like, whoa, what do you mean, bro? What did you just say? And Code is just like, yo, 2 years ago, didn't you run away from me without doing anything? Now you're telling me that you'll spare my life. So Code is basically flabbergasted at this point. He doesn't know what's going on. He's like, yo, bro, chill out. You know you can't do anything, right? And then Boruto replied saying, "You heard it, right? If you understand, just do it already, or this time you won't get away with just your left eye." And then Code replied saying, "I'm surprised coming here and bluffing around. I can't help but laugh." Now this conversation is a little bit weird based on the dialogue here. Now it seems like from Boruto's perspective, he's stronger than Code and you should be able to beat him. But Code is a little bit confused because based on what happened 2 years ago when they fought and Boruto ran away from him, Boruto wasn't stronger at that point in time. Now what's also interesting about this is that Boruto implies that he's the one who took Code's eye 2 years ago, right? He says this here in the chapter. But then before this, Code said Boruto ran away from him without doing anything. So which one is it? Did Boruto actually put up a challenge against Limitless Code 2 years ago, or didn't he? You know, although I will say that Boruto giving him the scar doesn't mean that he's on Code's level, or he was on Code's level at that time. It is possible that maybe something happened that allowed Boruto to do this, maybe an off-guard feat, who knows, right? But the dialogue itself is kind of weird, but it could go either way. Now then we skip over to Sarada. She's getting some screen time here, and Boruto basically tells her that there are a lot of people in the village that didn't make it out, so go ahead and take care of them and I'll take care of Code. And Sarada basically asks him if he's doing okay. Again, she hasn't seen this dude in 3 years, but Boruto basically replied saying, "We'll talk later, but first stay alive." And that's basically where their conversation ends in this chapter. Now the panel itself might seem cold and people have a problem with it, but I don't think it's a problem. Of course you can make the joke saying that, yo, Boruto is treating Sarada like how Sasuke treated Sakura, but I think more so what's happening here is either Boruto is hyper focused on Code because he knows something dangerous is about to happen, which we'll cover later on when we get to that point in this chapter, but it could be implying that something Boruto knows about the situation that isn't really apparent to the audience as yet. So that might be why Boruto is hyper focused and he doesn't have time to like catch up with Sarada. Or it could be, which is what I implied in the beginning of this video, that something happened to Sasuke and Boruto is very guilty about it. It is very suspicious that Sasuke hasn't come to the village as yet. Why didn't he travel with Boruto? He could have traveled with him. It's kind of weird and kind of gives the audience, when I say the audience I mean me, this eerie feeling that something may have happened to Sasuke and Boruto doesn't have the confidence to look Sarada in the eye because he needs to tell her about this because she obviously doesn't know based on her conversation with Shikamaru in the prior chapter. So that's why I think that something might have happened. Maybe he's dead, maybe he was captured or something, but this isn't really confirmation, it's just a theory based on the conversation here. Now then we skip skip over to like the third party characters, we have Shikadai fighting these beasts as well, and this kind of gives us an idea of how strong they are, right? Because we have Shikadai holding down 3 of them at the same time using shadow paralysis, and then we have Chocho basically one-shotting one of the beasts using just 2 hits. Like, she gave it 1 punch and then kicked it, and that was it. And this isn't just a theory. I'm not just saying that they're weak. Like, she literally says it herself. She says these guys, they're just numbers, they ain't much, right? So the characters and the author are literally telling us that, yo, these guys aren't really strong, you know, they're okay, they're fine. And we have to remember that even though Code used the Ten Tails power to create them and also his chakra as well, we have to factor in that Code is not very smart, it seems, because he created over 1,000 Clawgrams. Like, he created over 1,000 of these creatures using the chakra of the Ten Tails and his own chakra, which means that the power of the Ten Tails and his own power was separated 1,000 times at the very least, because he did create more. So it means that these are basically quantity over quality. They aren't very strong, just very huge in numbers. So that's why these characters, these lower level characters, are able to take care of them with just a single hit. But there is this interesting mechanic where the Clawgrams use the other Clawgrams to catch the characters off guard. They do this multiple times in the chapters. So they aren't very strong, but they're very intelligent to some degree at least, right? They know how to strategize to some degree. So we have this panel here where Chocho almost got bitten by one of these beans, but then Inojin swooped in using his bird and he grabbed it by its shoulders and carried it off into the sky. But again, these beans aren't really stupid. They have some level of intelligence because it used its tail to basically swipe off one of the wings of the bird so it would start descending from the sky. And while this happened, Himawari, who was also on the bird, fell off and it then went after Himawari immediately. But before it could actually bite Himawari, Kawaki came flying and basically told him to get out of his way and gave it 1 clean kick that sent it flying across town to some degree. Now, the interesting thing about this specific Clawgram is that it doesn't seem to be as weak as the others. Even Shikadai himself pointed out that this Clawgram is on a different level. It's superior to the other Clawgrams. And then we get a panel of the same Clawgram Kawaki just kicked, activating a Rinnegan. So just to be clear, when he tanked the kick from base Kawaki, he didn't have the Rinnegan active at that point in time. He only activated it after getting kicked. Now this is very interesting because of course we don't know what the color of this Rinnegan is, because we have the purple Rinnegan from Madara and Sasuke and Hagoromo, and then we have the blue Rinnegan from Urashiki, and we also have the golden and red Rennegans from Momoshiki. So there are different Rennegans that have different abilities, seemingly so. So we actually have no idea what this Rinnegan is capable of until we get the official coloring that shows us the color of this specific Rinnegan. And even then, it may have different abilities, even with the same color as maybe Momoshiki or Urashiki. So we just have to wait and see. But in regards to power, we know that the Rinnegan itself does contain a lot of power that adds to the strength of a character. This was explained by Obito back in Naruto, right? So this means that this Ten Tails clone right here is significantly powerful, or significantly more powerful than a regular Clawgram, which is established by the actual characters. But that's not the only thing, because after this moment, while Kawaki was distracted by everyone else, the Ten Tails clone with the Rinnegan used another Ten Tails clone, basically hopping into its stomach using the claw marks to teleport behind Kawaki and then slammed him into the ground before Kawaki could even react. Again, this is base Kawaki, by the way. He isn't using karma or even his dojutsu, but he was able to see the Ten Tails, he was able to turn around, but he could not dodge or react. Now, this could add to the power of the Ten Tails, or it could be a downscale for Kawaki. Either way you look at it, it's an incredible feat from this Ten Tails clone. But that's not the interesting thing, because after he did this, the Ten Tails clone spoke. He said Otsutsuki. Now this is absolutely insane to me, because I made a video like 2 days ago explaining why I think that Code's plan is to capture Ada using the Ten Tails clones. And my argument is that they would be immune to Ada's ability because they aren't sentient and can't understand complex emotions such as love, so they won't be captivated by Ada. Now this Ten Tails clone speaking, this specific clone speaking, the one that has the Rinnegan, kinda throws a wrench into that theory because they seem very intelligent. And this kinda plays into what Boruto says later on in this chapter, which we're going to address very soon. But this Ten Tails clone basically held Kawaki down, but then Shikadai used uses shadow paralysis to capture him or to hold him or restrict his movement, and Kawaki then used the opportunity to use his karma power to blast him away. Now before we proceed, there is something I wanted to address. There was a specific scene where Kawaki was basically rude to Himawari because she said thank you for saving me, big bro, and he's like, yo, stop calling me that, how many times do I have to tell you? And this is really sad, bro. Like, I'm trying my best to like Kawaki because I somewhat understand his struggle, you know, and this perspective, but bro, come on, man. Come on, bro. Even before the situation with Boruto, he weren't this mean to Himawari, you know? Well, why shouldn't she call you big bro? Like, even if he isn't Boruto, he's technically the adopted son of Naruto, so she would call you big bro either way. It's just really weird, and I think the author should do a better job to get us to sympathize with Kawaki, right? This doesn't do that, unless that isn't the goal and he doesn't want us to. But I think if you want someone to understand your villain, you want them to empathize with their perspective, which I think is what Kishimoto is trying to do, which is why I try to appeal to our emotions during the prophecy arc, right? And the entire omnipotence fiasco. So I think you should try to make Kawaki more likable, or maybe that isn't the goal because it's in character for Kawaki to act this way, but based on evidence and what happened prior, he never did this to Himawari. But people change, and maybe Kawaki feels guilty about taking Boruto's life, so he doesn't feel comfortable having Himawari calling him big bro. So in all honesty, this might be another way Kishimoto is trying to get us to sympathize with Kawaki, you know, on an emotional level, to see that he still cares about Boruto and doesn't want to take away everything that belonged to him. So maybe this is explained later on, we'll just have to wait and see in chapter 3, an entire month from now. But as I said, Kawaki destroyed this Ten Tails clone that had the Rinnegan with one chakra blast from his karma in Karma V1, and then he said, Otsutsuki, it pisses me off when people call me that, because again, Kawaki is 100% Otsutsuki per code statements, even though it's kind of weird since he was confirmed to be 80% Otsutsuki. But my understanding is that after he received the karma from Amado again, the reconstructed karma, he basically finished extracting the remaining 15%. So I think that's what happened. We see that the clones are basically spawning everywhere. They keep replicating. Shikadai is saying, yo, there's no end to them, damn it, how many of them are there? And Kawaki says, it doesn't matter, I'll destroy every last one of them. And then we move on back to Code versus Boruto, and Boruto is looking very cool here. It seems like he's using some sort of sensory ability because he seemingly closed one of his eyes, or his remaining eye, and we see this black panel which is normally used to indicate that a character is thinking, right? Or they're thinking internally, or they're trying to understand something. In this case, in battle, it's normally used when a character is using some sort of sensory ability to listen to the sound and the movements of people around them, and that's kind of what's indicated here on this panel as well. And then we see the clawgrams move towards Boruto, and that's when he opened his eye and he just slashed all of them with one strike, like literally one strike, and he killed like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of them at the same time, just one strike. And Code of course is watching this, seeing everything happen, and of course he's kind of like concerned to some degree because he says, so there's no way you're actually just bluffing, because he called Boruto's bluff earlier on because Boruto thought he could actually beat Code, and Code didn't take him seriously, but he is at this point in time. So Boruto then says, if you're still gonna do this, there won't be any of them left. And Code replied saying, don't get too cocky just because you've killed a few. There are plenty more of them out there, besides, they're just tools for me. And Boruto replied saying, you still don't understand the horrors of the Ten Tails. And Code said, what did you just say? And that's when we skip over to Sarada briefly. She's basically using her fireball technique to take down the Ten Tails clones, and then she used her Shidori to take down another 3 clones, which is actually pretty impressive given the fact that she's still in base, which is pretty interesting since she's using the Shidori, so she can use it in base apparently. But again, as I said earlier, the clawgrams are using this tactic where they catch people off guard using the claw marks on the dead clawgrams. So one clawgram did this to Sarada and almost bit her, but one of the father ninjas, no-name ninjas, basically saved Sarada and he got bit instead. Now what's interesting here is that after he got bit, the clawgram that bit him started to turn into a tree, which makes it seem as if the Ten Tails clone is absorbing his chakra and basically powering up. Now in my spoiler video I released yesterday, I basically compared this to Naruto punching the Ten Tails clones or the white Zetsus and them turning into trees, because his chakra was resonating with the wood style within these Ten Tails clones and the white Zetsu. But this seems very different, because the Ten Tails itself is just absorbing chakra from random people and turning into a tree. So an interesting theory is that Code is using these Ten Tails clones to gather other chakra for the actual 10 tails he has stored somewhere else. Now obviously the 10 tails body, the real body, isn't on this planet because that type of power is easily detectable by anyone with a reasonable proficiency in sensory techniques. So it doesn't appear that Code has it stored here, but it is implied that he moved it to somewhere else. But what I'm saying is that back in Naruto, Kaguya was able to summon the chakra that was being gathered by the God Tree that was in Naruto's dimension to her time space in another dimension. So it is possible that Code is doing something similar here by having these clawgrams collect chakra, then send it back to the main body of the 10 tails. Now this is just a theory, of course. If you guys have any contradictions to it, just let me know about it in the comment section, or actually join the Discord. Speaking of the Discord link is in the description and will be pinned as the comment in this video. So if you guys want to discuss something more that you want to talk about over VC, just ping me in the server when you get there and I'll hit you up. And also I started a brand new channel that I'll be migrating all of my JJK videos over to, and I'll continue doing theory videos, chapter reviews, and even spoiler reviews for JJK over on that channel. So if you are interested in JJK videos, just subscribe to that channel using the link in the description. But with that being said, we're now back to the conversation between Boruto and Code. So Code says, I've known about the 10 tails. They eat Otsutsukis. Well, the truth is they're just beasts that feeds on anyone and everyone on instinct until the time they find an actual Otsutsuki. And Boruto replied saying normally that might be true but not anymore. And that's because of the transformation you added, because again Code added his own iron to the 10 tails clones and his own chakra. Again, this chakra is Shiki Otsutsuki's powerful chakra. Now if you want to go into theory mode, I actually believe that Code has the karma seal of Shiba Otsutsuki that was manufactured using his cells by a model. So if that's the case, Code would have the chakra, thus these 10 tails clones having the chakra of Shiba Otsutsuki instead, which is absolutely insane. But then Boruto replied saying that there's still time. You've held the ropes to hold them, you can annihilate them right now, otherwise they're headed for the worst future anyone can imagine. Now of course, with future being mentioned here, the possible theories of course will be that Boruto saw the future using maybe the Jogan or Momoshiki's Byakugan, which is actually confirmed to have that ability to see into the future. So this would actually explain why Boruto knew that Code would be in the village at this specific point in time, and also why he knows about this insane future, this dark future involving the 10 tails. So if you don't subscribe to the Jogan theory of Boruto using its ability to basically hear people calling out to him and then teleport into that exact location as shown in the anime, you can't believe that he used the Byakugan's power to see into the future and knew exactly where to be based on information it provided. Now there's also this running theory that this Boruto right here is a Boruto from the future, not the current Boruto. The current Boruto is off doing something else somewhere else. So the reason why this Boruto knew exactly where to be at the correct time and knows about this future is because he's from the future. Now, I don't actually subscribe to this theory. I think it's the Byakugan, but we'll have to just wait and see. Now, Code is actually a villain, you know, so he's saying what villains will say. So he says, what's your point now? When the 10 tails ate Otsutsuki, or when the 10 tails eats an Otsutsuki, it will take root on this great land and become a divine tree. When that time comes, this planet will perish. The worst future itself is my objective. So basically what Code is saying is that you're telling me to stop the 10 tails from doing something that I want it to do, right? It doesn't even make sense to Code. But then Boruto replied saying, I'll only say this one time, Code. I'll let you live. In exchange, you will lead me to the 10 tails. Then Code replied saying, even stupidity has its limits, Boruto. Have you lost your mind? Then Boruto replied saying, I'll be blunt. Killing you is easy. Rather than just dying in vain, why don't you do one good thing for the world instead of wasting your life? And Code replied saying, that's bullshit, you're the one who is going to die. And that's when Boruto said, there's no saving for this idiot, huh? And then we see a panel of Boruto activating some sort of chakra around his palm, and then we see it kind of propagate around his entire body. And that's when Code said, it's Rasengan. This fool, he doesn't think I know about it. And then we get a side text saying, shunned from his hometown and now being chased, what kind of new power did Boruto gain in the midst of all of it? And that's when we see Boruto walking towards Code saying, Rasengan Uzuiko. And this is actually the brand new technique we spoke about at the beginning of this video. Now, as I said before, there are multiple possibilities for this technique. It is a Rasengan, but what's interesting is what it does, right? We know that Boruto's vanishing Rasengan makes itself invisible. And if Boruto is using this Rasengan per this panel around his body, does Boruto have the ability to make himself invisible using the Rasengan, right? This is very intriguing because it is possible. If the technique itself cloaks itself, makes itself invisible by injecting lightning release, then if you cloak yourself inside the technique itself, wouldn't it then make you invisible? Or would it just apply to the technique alone, making the technique invisible around your body while you remain visible, right? That might be the case, but it would be more interesting if Boruto could make himself invisible using the technique. I think that would be absolutely OP. Now, one of my subscribers made a very cool observation, a very interesting observation, right? He said that the Rasengan itself is very similar to the rotation technique used by the Hyuga. And that really got me thinking, because if it's very similar to the Hyuga clan technique, which means that the Rasengan is really just a ball of rotating chakra, and the Hyuga clan rotation technique is just a ball of rotating chakra. It's really the same thing. You could technically or theoretically apply the same properties across the techniques. Now, one of the most unique properties of the rotation technique is its ability to reflect the damage inflicted onto it. So basically, the technique not only just blocks attacks from the outside, it also reflects chakra-based powers onto their opponents, which is how Neji was able to reflect Naruto's attack using the Nine Tails power onto Naruto. Now, of course, the power of this ability depends on the user, because let's say part 1 Neji isn't going to reflect the damage of a 10 Tails attack, right? Even though it has the technique to do it. So let's say you give this technique to a more powerful character like Boruto, then it would be more insanely overpowered. So it could be a case where this doesn't make Boruto invisible, but more so that it reflects the damage inflicted onto Boruto by Code. It is definitely a stretch, but it is possible. Now, that's it for my thoughts on this chapter, and that's it for the chapter itself. Of course, I'm going to discuss this later on in Discord with the other guys, so if you guys want to join in on the conversation, the Discord link will be in the description and also pinned in the comments. But let me know your thoughts in the comment section, of course, because interactions also helps the video get promoted in the algorithm. So let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below, and also drop a like if you liked the video. But I want to know what you guys thought about the chapter. Was it good? Was it boring? Do you guys think it was lackluster in any way? Do you think it was mid? I thought it was really good. I actually had my reservations about it based on the spoilers, but reading the chapter itself, it actually gave me a lot of insight onto the universe and had me theorizing about multiple things. Of course, I haven't revealed every single thing in this video. I'm saving some of it for actual videos, so subscribe if you're new, ring that notification bell to be notified when I post the videos, and of course, stay tuned for more content. With that being said, I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace out.